how would you define success?
For me right now, personally, what drives me and what gives me most satisfaction and what I look for is what value you are creating uh, with your work. And the value could be in terms of, you know, the company you're working for, what you're doing for the company, if you're working with people, how you're helping people to grow and do better and become, really help them in their careers and their personal lives or in society or whatever. So it's about the impact you as an individual you are creating in whatever you're doing.
Hi, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what drives them. The optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are their attributes we want to bring to life in these conversations with them. So if you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Good morning. We haven't spoken in a month.
Good morning, Sabrina. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you? How was your trip? You were in India for a few weeks. We
Yeah,
took a brief hiatus.
I recommend I
One
recommend
noticed.
everybody I know. I recommend everybody to go get a trip to India.
Really, I haven't been
Yeah.
in 20 years.
In fact, I'm going to make a statement now, Sabrina.
Okay.
Naima, your
Mm-hmm.
daughter, and my kids will have their financial security and income dependent on India.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty big statement.
Yeah, I think
Really?
what I've seen in India happening right now, I think the next Silicon Valley, the next fashion brands, the next D2C brands,
Yeah.
the amount of investment going in not just into infrastructure, but into commerce, into sport. I think India is going to make the World Cup of football within 30 years. So I think India's
Feel it like you're there, you're out, like you feel that like booming sensation there. Like it's
totally.
happening. There's stuff happening.
I didn't see anybody unemployed. No homelessness that you have in America in the main cities. Everyone is doing something. Everything is buzzing. You
Okay,
know,
but there's still like all the slums, right? I mean, that's a vivid
sure, but even in
image.
the slums, there's economic activity, and the people are smiling, and
Really?
there's less robbery in the slums than there is in Chile today.
Okay. Do you think, based on what you saw, like, is it, the slums are is it smaller than it used to be 20 years ago?
No,
Okay, it's the same.
no
There's
land.
act.
No, land prices keep going up, right? So land prices keep going up. People who live in the slums are not exactly going to go and now all of a sudden buy a house.
Of
Yes,
course.
the middle income is exploding, and I mean, we're not a macroeconomic podcast, but basically, India is going one direction. I think they
Yeah.
just overtake. Was it Japan, or they just overtaken a country to become the third largest economy, or will
Okay.
be the third largest economy, and I just think I honestly think I need to move to India ASAP because my kids' income is going to be dependent on that country.
Okay. You doing it or what? You heading out there?
Well, once Indian Explorers has a few more users, Sabrina, then we can talk about it, right? I got a lot of interest and feedback on the podcast, so there'll be a lot of people coming on the pod. I even got potential sponsors for the pod,
Excellent.
so we'll talk about that in weeks ahead. I
Okay.
actually want to share a couple of stories about India, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Yeah. So a friend of mine invited me to play football, right? Soccer.
Hmm.
And I showed up. He gave me the address, 6 o'clock, Cooperage in Bombay. So I go there. I go there at 5:30 because I got to warm up at my age, right, to avoid injuries. And I go up until 6:15. Nobody showed up, and I was already sweating and warmed up, because of the humidity there. And all of a sudden, guys started coming in one by one, and I noticed there's, these security dogs that smell things and like the airports. So there
Oh
are two
yeah.
security dogs. There's a police car with the lights on, and there's a guy with a machine gun, like right outside where we play football.
Sounds like you
And
were on the border to Mexico.
yeah, and I'm looking around and going, okay, this is good. Nothing's gonna happen to me here. And then I realize, like, we're 12 of us, and 11 of us show up by 6:30, and everyone's ready to play. So I'm like, hey guys, let's play. They're like, no, we're waiting for him. And I was like, who's him? And they're like, oh, you don't know him. And I was like, all of a sudden, three limos and SUVs pour in, and a guy with an Arsenal jersey walks in, and my friend introduces me and going, "Oh, this is Akash." I'm like, "Oh, hey Akash," and then after the game, I realized this is Akash Ambani, Mukesh Ambani's son.
After the game,
After the game, I didn't
and
realize, right?
anyone when he came out of the limo, like, who is this guy?
No, because the guy comes in and he's the only one who doesn't remove his watch. Now, I don't know what the value of his watch is, but I'm thinking when I play football, if you have a watch, metal watch with
Yeah,
leather strap, you remove it and you play the game, right?
of
Because you
course.
might injure somebody or you might hurt the watch.
Yeah.
And the guy's playing with the watch. Everyone's passing the ball to him during the game. And I'm thinking, why? He wasn't
Was
even
he
like,
good? Was he
he
good
was
at?
very average.
He was average.
I mean, let's just say he was Ravine standard, Ravine standard, your brother, average. So, uh, anyway,
He's
nice guy,
amazing.
nice guy, funny, but it's just funny. The reason why I say it's funny is because over here in Chile, I organize a game every Saturday. And instead of $4 a game, I actually charge this time $4.50. Because every few months I buy the ball, every few months, like every week, a guy doesn't
People
pay on
pay you
time,
to
or
play?
yeah, I booked the pitch, right?
Oh, and
Say
they
it's say,
okay, okay,
say it's $40. I'll pay up front, and then I'll just collect $4 from the 10 people, whatever it is,
okay,
right?
got it.
But sometimes last minute a guy doesn't show up, and I have to get a guy from another group, and then you invite him, so you don't have his number to follow up, to get that $4, right? So I put that in the group, and then a guy in the group said, Amit, why have you increased the rate? Did the has the club gone up? And I said, oh God, I got to justify myself for 50 cents. Well, the ball, the last minute guy, late payments. And then three other guys said, Amit, I don't think it's right, the 50-cent increment. And I just played football in India where somebody paid for me. I had no idea who. And then apparently this guy has booked the entire pitch for himself for like a few years. So all the only games that happen is when he plays, right? So I'm just
Uh,
thinking the disparity between India and Chile, where for 50 cents, my friends are crying, and India, I played paddle 3 times, and no one asked me for the payment. I mean, you're invited, you're a guest. Anyway, now I just thought it was a funny story
I
of,
think that is hilarious, and I love that the security was there, making
yeah,
sure, like with the
yeah.
dog.
I guess for kidnapping and stuff like that, they have to
Sure.
be
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
he is the richest man in the country, so his children are obviously targets.
For
Nice guy. I didn't have a conversation with him after the game. We all just went our separate ways. um, but I also I went to Goa, and I stayed there at the Taj property. Taj and Oberoi are the brands, like I would say Marriott and Hyatt type things.
yeah.
If you ever get a chance to stay at the Taj or Oberoi in India, the level of hospitality I would say is better than Four Seasons. I mean,
Okay. Wow.
that's
Oh, I
that's how
can
good they are.
imagine India.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm staying at the Taj, and there's a kids pool and there's a main pool, and the pool has a pool bar, right?
Mhm.
These pool bars where the stools
Where
are
you're
there
in
inside
the
the pool.
pool. Hmm.
Yeah, correct. So my proud moment was Chandni was with Aman, who's 8 months in the room, like napping, and I'm with the 3-year-old and the 9-year-old, Gautam and Rayan. And obviously, when you're a 9 and a 3-year-old in a pool, I'm basically with a 3-year-old, and the 9-year-old does his own thing,
Yeah.
right? So I'm there having fun in the kiddies pool, catching the ball, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, I don't see Gautam, and after 10 minutes, I actually can't see him, and I panic, and I get up out of the pool with Rayan holding him, and all of a sudden, I see an Indian woman taking a picture of two boys, two 9-year-olds in the pool bar. Gautam has gone and made a friend, ordered two iced teas, put it in my room tab, and basically just he goes, yeah, pap. I go, I saw you yesterday order pina coladas and burgers. So I know the room number. So here's my friend Noah from Australia. And, he's at the pool bar, 9 years old. Didn't tell me. Didn't tell me wait, that he left us. Didn't tell me that he's like ordering, food and drinks with his new buddy. And I just thought, my boy's growing up. So I was
He is, and watch out for him because that was way too
good
easy for him.
because normally he asks permission.
Yeah,
Normally he goes, "Hey, Dad, I want to do this. I want to go out. I want to do this."
yeah,
But the day before in the pool bar, I was like, whatever. It was my first day in the pool bar. We were just drinking and eating, and
yeah,
I put everything in the room tab, obviously. And you know, children are sponges, right?
yeah,
If
for
the
sure.
father does it, then they have the kid can do it as well.
Well, it's funny because he's
So
9, so at this age, he was like, "Oh, I'll just go get myself a tea or whatever," and
yeah,
then
nice tea. Yeah, I made sure
later
it wasn't a pina colada,
it's
right?
gonna be, "Hey, Noah, let's go get some Long Island iced teas at the at the bar."
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I have 1,000 stories about India, but honestly, India is in the right direction. But tell me
That's awesome.
about how was the how are you? How was Taylor Swift? How was the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl was actually, this Super Bowl was so much fun to watch. I don't know if you watched it. It went into overtime, as everyone listening probably knows. It was a great one. Taylor Swift was there. Usher, I thought was awesome. I thought he put on a great show. It was a fun Super Bowl to watch. It was a good one.
Yeah. So I missed Usher's performance.
Okay.
I didn't realize, but I saw the last 3 minutes and the overtime, right?
Okay.
And I thought Patrick Mahomes was brilliant.
Yeah.
And what happened was when the Super Bowl final was going on, my wife was saying bye to her parents because we were
Okay.
headed to the airport. It was morning time
Oh,
for us,
got it.
right, in
Okay.
India, right? So I basically while we were getting ready, I came out of the door and I saw like the help, the nannies, they were crying, and then Chandni came down and I saw her with red eyes and tears. And then I
Oh,
saw my in laws come down and they were with tears. And got them, my children and I were in the room laughing and jumping, watching the Super Bowl, the overtime.
yeah.
And every time I got on the door, I saw like people crying because they were saying bye to the baby and they were saying bye to each other because we were heading to the airport. And
Yeah.
literally, the game finished and I headed to the airport. So I enjoyed the Super Bowl, but I remember the
But no
tears.
tears for you.
Yeah, it's the only sad moment of India is when we leave,
Yeah.
uh, because to see my mother-in-law and my father-in-law cry, uh, I don't know if it's because of the daughters leaving. I think now it's because of the grandchildren
It's the
leaving.
grandchildren. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah,
I have been meaning to go. I think, if it's not this year, hopefully next year.
yeah,
Naima's never been, so I think
yeah.
it's
Well,
time.
just make sure you like, if possible, coordinate with me,
Yeah.
because
And we can be
we'll.
together.
Yeah, yeah. India works. So a friend of mine, I hate to use this, but it's the truth. You know how when you mention that you're friends with somebody who is influential, or like basically if you tell them you know people, you get better service.
Yeah. Like
So
you
on the
identify
first day,
with Ambani. Yeah.
yeah, correct. No, I didn't mention his name. So a friend of mine who's in the jewelry business, he spent a lot of time at the Taj, right, the
Okay.
Goa property that I stayed in, and he said, "Amit, when you go there, make sure you tell them that that you know me." And I was like, I checked in. I didn't mention his name. But my friend had called the hotel, and
Hmm.
instead of the deluxe garden room, they gave me a deluxe garden premium suite, like a better location, and they upgraded me, right?
Yeah.
And I came to know afterwards it's because my friend called.
Okay.
And then at the pool bar, the first day, it took me about 20 minutes to get the guy's attention for the menu, right? I'm like, hello, because he's cutting and chopping, other people's drinks. And the next day, before Gotham went to order his drink with his friend, he came up to me and he said, "Sir, why didn't you tell me you're Kabir's friend?" And I was like, I mean, I didn't think telling I I'm ordering a menu, I'm ordering food. How does it help that I'm friends with Kabir, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "Anything you need, sir? Anything you need, you come to me now." I was like, wow, India still really works that way.
You
And
know
then
what?
all of a sudden, he just gave me the best service,
That's great.
complimentary ABC. And I was like, man, I was upgraded. I got late checkout. I got great service. the F&B manager, the hospitality manager, the pool bar guy, all of a sudden treated me like I'm royalty, and it's
It's
all because of who I know. And
it's a
I
country
don't
of
like that.
it's a country of over 1 billion people, but the uber wealthy, the who's who, it's still a small percentage. I mean, so someone or you are one of those people, you get treated differently, I think.
Yeah. I think my friend also, this guy is an excellent tipper. He speaks to everybody in a very polite manner. He's a very well mannered boy.
Mhm.
And I think that obviously helps. He treats the
Yeah.
help very well
Well,
and
of
the
course.
workers with a lot of integrity. And at the end of the day, tipping makes a big difference,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, too many other stories about India, but everything I saw
I like
was,
the ones you shared. I like the ones you
yeah,
shared.
yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before we bring on our guest?
No, I think let's just jump on the pod. I'm actually excited to meet a fellow Indian who left India and is now running one of the most successful businesses in Chile.
Awesome.
So really excited about it.
Great. Thanks for sharing your stories. It was good,
Sure.
good ones. Yeah. Today we have Ashish Grover. We're excited to have him. He's the Chief Information Officer for Falabella, the leading physical and digital retailer in Latin America. Headquartered in Chile, Falabella has a presence in 7 countries. Ashish holds an engineering degree from the University of Delhi and a master's of science from the University of Albany. He has more than 20 years of experience leading technology programs in different countries and companies such as Reliance, Target, GE, and American Express. We definitely need to find out more about this journey, especially because my kid's favorite store in the whole world is Target. So we need to see what you're doing in other countries. But welcome. Thank you for being with us today. I know you're a busy man, so we really, really appreciate it.
Very, very glad to be here. So thank you for a very kind introduction.
Ashish, you were in Falabella in the India office. I think it was Bangalore. And you
That's
now are living in Chile. Like
that's
I'm trying
correct.
to do the opposite. I'm trying to leave Chile to go work or live in India. What makes you, which have an impressive job already in India, leave the motherland, leave the good food and the good people to come to Chile? I want to know your story.
So home is always India, and it's gonna be India. It's finally gonna be the destination where I'm gonna go. We were at a stage where um, our kids were growing up, and my son was going to US to study, and I was already working for Falabella, and I was at a position where you have to interact a lot with people, and it's I became actually CIO before I moved. So I was CIO working out of India office, and it was pretty hard to manage time zones. So I thought, it would be a really good experience for our daughter to experience new country and learn Spanish and meet different culture, meet people from different cultures. So it's been a very nice experience so far.
Did you speak Spanish before moving to Chile?
So I've been with Falabella for over 6 years,
Okay.
and I've been let me put it. I've been trying to learn Spanish for 6 years. I've been
Okay.
on and off, and I've changed 6, 7 teachers. So I'm looking for a really good teacher.
Well, now you know Amit. He's excellent.
Yeah, I think it's a time management issue, Sabrina.
I think
How
it's a
did uh, how did
But jokes apart, I've been trying to learn, and I can speak a little bit, but I am probably the worst student ever. So this
really.
is not my forte.
You were a
It's not my forte.
did I read right that you were a physics major?
Me?
Yes.
No, yeah, I mean, I studied, in my undergrad, a lot of physics and other sciences. But yeah, I'm very mathematical, logical oriented. I'm not generally good at languages, so it's a good challenge in life to
Okay. Good.
yeah. My wife, when she came as well from India 11 years ago, she didn't know a word of Spanish. And she went to some school where they did like classes. And after 3 months of that, she basically said, I'm not really improving. But she got a job with a company that does fund management and she does investor relations for them. And in 6 months, it was incredible, incredible. Like she's fluent now. So
Yeah, I mean, what I have realized is like language, right? And especially as you are older, right, it becomes even harder skill to acquire. But it, it, it has to be, you have to be in a very tough environment to learn. You have to do it.
Forced to learn.
Forced to learn. And good or bad thing is there's a lot of people who adapt to me in office who try to speak English. I
Okay.
have translators available, so I understand a little bit of, even if in a meeting I can sit and there's only Spanish, I'm dangerous enough.
yeah,
Okay.
I did 9 years in India, and I can't say a sentence in Hindi. So I hear you. There was too many people there helping, and there were too many people there who spoke English. And and the rickshaw drivers, you're going aage aage, sida sida, left, right.
The
So I
basic.
hear what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Ashish, before we get into the beginning of your journey, can you tell us or the people listening what Falabella is?
Sure. So Falabella is basically three broad um, domains we work with. So one is the retail. In retail, we have a namesake, which is a department store, Falabella, and it's for, I don't know where all the audience are from. So if you know about US market, I feel like it's a little bit like Macy's with few more things. It's a little upscale than Target, and it's a little more exclusive. Um, so that's our department stores, which is in three countries: Chile, Peru, and Colombia. And then we have a home improvement, which is called Sodimac, which looks similar to, let's say, a Home Depot or Lowe's. It's in seven countries, including Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and Mexico. Um, we have also a supermarket which is called Totus. So it's Chile and Peru, and then we are also a franchisee of IKEA, and we have opened stores in Chile and Colombia so far. So this is our retail side of things. We run our marketplace falabella.com, which has been in news lately. And then we have our actually financial side of the business. So we have a bank, we have credit cards, we have a small insurance brokerage business. So bank is really, really doing well. So it's in actually three countries. Bank is in three countries, but we have credit cards in four countries, including Mexico. So that's our financial world. And finally, the third one is the real estate. So we have our own shopping malls where we obviously place some of our stores, but also a lot of other stores around. So these are the three businesses, and multiple countries. So makes life very interesting.
Uh, I've been here, Sabrina, what, 11 years? Falabella is the company in Chile. Like, if IKEA is the company in Sweden, this is the company in Chile. It's the number one brand. Uh, they're actually a green brand, the department stores. And marketplace he mentioned, I'm actually a seller in the marketplace. I'm actually in a mall that Falabella is an owner. I actually have a credit card of Falabella. So it basically touches every single person. They have 100% brand recognition within everybody in Chile,
Okay.
right? So
Very
that's hard to
strong.
say. Yeah.
More than 120 years old company.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of leads.
Okay. Fantastic. So, okay, now we know what that is. Let's take it back. Tell us about a little bit about your upbringing, what got you interested in tech and retail.
Where did you study? Right from the beginning, where you grew up.
So I grew up mostly north of India, and my father was in a public sector company. So we used to move around a little bit. He was a finance manager in NFL, National Fertilizers Limited. So we moved around, and I grew up in very small townships where there was very good diverse group of people from all over India. But living in a bubble where there will be one school, one hospital, and one market, one restaurant. And that's where I grew up most of my childhood. Um, and as I was getting to college, we came to Delhi. My father got retired at that time. And then that's when I realized a lot of my um, um, passion towards technology. And I'm the youngest in the family, so no one took me seriously. So I had to prove myself and really reinforce my importance in the family. So my father was actually started a business of technology, and we are talking about uh, probably early 90s. So he had bought a 286 computer and, was trying to do something with that. He had a contract and the program wouldn't run. And I was very young and I didn't know anything about it, but I learned on the job and, I just helped him a lot. And suddenly, everyone was reinforcing my own belief that I'm good at it. And then that one thing led to another. And then I basically studied computer science. And then,
Where?
so I actually studied in India, in Rohtak, but I also did then masters in New York. I came to SUNY, and I studied MS from there as well. So I did two masters, one from India and then one from US. And then I've been working with GE for many years, lived in Japan, lived in Thailand, lived in the US, um, worked for Target and Reliance, and then now Falabella.
Okay. Mostly were you for these companies, were you mostly growing their technology side? Say Target, for example.
Yeah, I mean, Target, for example, I had two stints. I've worked for Target for about 9, 10 years. And the first part was a lot to do with analytics
Mhm.
side of the world, a lot of data related work I did for Target. Target is actually known, and sometimes it has very funny stories. I don't know if you've uh, heard about the pregnancy test story about Target.
No,
So
tell
anyway,
us.
I think it's a very famous case study where I think Target was so good at analytics, and I think um, I think a girl bought a pregnancy test thing from Target, and then Target started, promoting, baby products or maternity products to them, and the girl had not told her parents about that, so it was a little bit mess.
Oh, wow. So they started getting like the messages about baby blankets or baby clothes or
Yeah.
oh wow. Okay. That's
So
interesting.
anyway, so I was part of the analytics in Target, and then I worked on e-commerce for Target, and it was mid 2000s. And the funniest part of this part is that actually not many people know Target used to run their whole e-commerce on Amazon. So Amazon had two platforms, one for themselves and other they used to give to retailers. And a lot of retailers said, okay, Amazon is doing this little bit thing somewhere of online thing. It's not really a competitor, so why don't we use their technology there? Technology thingy. So Target actually use Amazon platform, and when Target had probably a revenue of a billion plus, from just all online. And then they realize, I mean, it's a competitor and it's eating our breakfast, so we cannot be on Amazon platform. And I was involved in making sure we come out of Amazon platform and we are able to manage our own supply chain. We are able to run our own site, app, and Target has done pretty well now. I mean, it continues to um, have a very good physical strategy. Now it has a very, very good digital strategy. So I was involved with those kind of things with Target. And then Reliance, I don't know how much you know about Agio.com. Um, it's a fashion site. It's actually doing much better than Mintra. It's number one fashion site in India.
What's
I
it
was the
called?
one. Agio.com.
Agio.
How do you spell it?
AJIO.
Agio. Okay. Yeah, we don't know it.
Yeah, so it's now doing better, much better than Mintra.
Mintra. Okay. I wanted to
Um,
ask you, Shish, about you mentioned you're involved with the online and e-commerce side of Target. Has has Chile caught up in terms of online versus offline sales? For example, Falabella, what percentage of the total sales of Falabella is e-commerce, including marketplace versus offline? And how does that compare to, say, Target or Walmart today?
so Falabella, almost 30% of sales are through online, but
30%.
it depends on format to format. I
Yeah.
mean, department store is much higher. Home improvements, usually there is a lot of discovery happens online, but the closure of the deal happens actually offline. So it's
Wow.
much smaller actually transaction on online.
Opposite of Best Buy.
Yeah, right. I mean, so yeah, exactly. So even I mean, is a very similar in if you go in Home Depot number or those number that they have. Online strategy is very important, but it is more to the discovery and then finally a lot of
Yeah.
sales happen.
And Target in America, what's that percentage?
I don't know what's the latest, but my guess would be it will be similar numbers like 30-35%
Yeah.
sales. I mean,
And let's
they are
look at
probably a
India.
$100 billion company, I think now.
Yeah.
No,
And what about India? Like, would a Reliance Retail, Chroma, are they online numbers even 10% or still way below? If you'd have to guess.
um, I mean, obviously, if you are probably talking about because there are different type of retailers now. So you're talking about the retailers who have started traditionally and now are more omni-channel
Correct.
retailers,
Correct. Yeah.
like a Reliance and all.
Sure.
I feel there'll be much less. I mean, there'll be less than
Even,
10, for
even,
sure, less
yeah.
than 10.
Even I think less than five. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be much less than that. Yeah, I mean, India is a very complicated market. I mean, it's very easy to put like a 1.4 billion people, but there are various segments, various, says the actual shoppable population is very different.
Where do you see retail in the store, people going and buying? Where do you see it going in Chile in the next 10 years? Will that number change where revenue, 70% is coming from retail versus e-commerce
Or you mean physical versus
versus online?
digital?
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think digital portion is digital ratio is going to continue to increase.
Yeah.
But I'm a strong believer that the real nirvana is in a physical and digital. I mean, you cannot be purely digital or you can be purely physical. That you have to be in a hybrid environment.
Yeah.
People would still like to go to stores and see stuff, touch stuff, do the
Yeah.
stuff, and maybe they'll be also online, like all of us in our physical lives, right? There's the same behavior is going to be there, but I do think certain categories will keep on increasing as the experiences get better. There are certain categories. I mean, we I remember 15, 20 years back, people would say, yeah, we get the books. I don't know if electronics will happen. Then electronics,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. Electronics will happen, books will happen, clothes, no
Never.
way. The clothes will
Shoes,
happen. Because,
clothes.
you know, food, you have to feel the food, you have to,
Yeah.
have that. There's no way I'm going to buy apples
Yeah.
online. And you see today what's happening, right? So
It's
it's a category by
efficiency, right?
category. Yeah.
As we progress
Convenience.
in time, we want convenience, we want efficiency. We are all so busy that the easiest thing, except there are those days where I want to have a coffee and walk around Target and just look at stuff. And then, of course, I'm there for two things and I end up leaving with
10 things.
things. Yeah, which I'm
Yeah.
sure
So
happens in your Falabella stores too.
So I think that's what is happening, right? I mean, a lot of physical stores are becoming experience,
Yeah.
and then also the formats are changing. So now having a very big store may not make sense. So Target, if if you live in US, they are changing their a lot of formats. I mean, they have now a food part in their stores. They have a much smaller formats. They are putting it in urban areas rather than only in
Mm.
big suburban areas. So there is a lot of change in the planograms. There is a lot of change in the experience within the stores. There is also change in the size that is put in. So there is,
Right.
and even the technology within the stores. I mean, nobody wants to stand in a checkout line anymore. So
Yeah.
you have to have different technologies there.
So true.
People go to IKEA to eat the meatballs and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
leave without going to shop.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's
Ashish, as CIO of Falabella, what is a typical day like for you?
Uh,
chaos.
Yeah, I was gonna say there
yeah.
is no typical day.
No, I mean, after some time, everything has a pattern. Um, I think, I mean, rather than answering a typical day, maybe, so how do I see my job? Maybe I'll answer
Yeah,
that,
sure.
and that will define actually, how
Absolutely.
the day typically goes. So there is a portion of your job as a CIO which goes into the most boring parts of life, right? Which is a lot of compliance and making sure you are secure, you are stable, you are meeting all the regulatory needs, your customers' data is secured, everything is running as is, etc. I mean, there's no disruptions. You are meeting all the standards of a company, etc., audits and things like that, right? That's a part of your job, right? If you do that well, hopefully you'll not get fired. So that's one part of the job, right? And then there is a second part of the job which is to do with um, really helping company grow, right? Figure out how you're going to enable the business strategies and what type of technology solutions you should put, which are going to be helpful for the business to not only grow but also evolve into different directions. I mean, it's most of the companies have been there. They, like everything in our life, right? We think we want to do this. As we start doing, we learn, we change. So technology has to be built in a way that it allows that flexibility to the businesses. So, a lot of that core technology part of how do you help businesses grow, build new strategies, enter new business models, and the third part of my job is, I feel, which is bringing innovation to the group. What is happening with Gen AI? What is happening with other innovations that are happening in business models, digital models, platform models? Uh, so talking to the industry, peers, and reading, and making sure your teams are upgrading themselves and figuring out about them. So, and I would say, you know, probably 30, 40, and maybe 20s, or some that
Okay.
ratio goes into
Are
these type
focused
of
on that.
meetings and meeting people around that.
You brought up innovation. Where do you see AI come into place with Falabella and retail sales?
Yeah, so I mean, AI and generally analytics and machine learning and stuff has been, I mean, retail have been the first uh, kind of industry to adopt a lot of data analytics because by nature it generates a lot of data, right?
Okay.
So a lot of marketing stuff always used to happen through analytics. A lot of customer segmentation. In digital, there is obviously a lot of, we read a lot about recommendations of Amazon and Netflix and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of that personalization and recommendations
Yeah.
are happening. There's a lot of, given that retail is a lot about how do you put the right products in front of customers at the right price, and then how do you make sure there's a distribution which is most efficient. And on all these applications, there's a lot of analytic applications that you can use. And with Gen AI, I think there is even a different level of now opportunities that are existing on the creative side of stuff, which is either technology programming or communication of our customers with the companies in chatbot formats,
Okay.
or even a content generation, or a video and audio and text generation. So there is a lot of applications that are happening with that.
How far are we from me right now putting on the Apple Vision Pro glasses or Facebook's Meta's, Ray-Bans, and actually saying, I want to go to Falabella Parque Arauco, and click click click, I'm inside Falabella Parque Arauco, and there are cameras everywhere, and I want to go to the, I don't know, sports section and buy tennis balls and go and pick up tennis balls, but doing it from my house, not on a website, not physically going to the store, just by putting on my VR glasses. How far are we from that? I mean, it's obviously we're going there, but how far are we from retail and VR, AR connecting?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
It
I
means you're
mean,
working on it. It means you're working on it if you don't want to give an answer.
no. I mean, the point is, I mean, before ChatGPT came, if somebody would have asked like 2 months before to the most of the industry experts and asked how far we are from, like a human-like conversations going on, I'm sure most of people would have
A decade.
answered wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
like this use case, I have personally been talking about this use case with friends and peers for last 15 years. There will be
Yeah.
a day, not in the context of glasses, not using the same name, but saying the website will be fundamentally experience of actually walking in the stores. You will see the
Sure.
aisles, and you can have expression, feeling of picking up from the aisles, and there will be a
Yeah.
virtual basket and stuff like that, right? And a lot of people experimented. Nothing really happened. So, but I'm sure there will be a moment when um, there will be so much enhancement in the technology where you don't have to wear such a heavy glasses, and it will not be so unnatural, and it will be there. My personal feeling is when you are online, you are more trying to be efficient.
Yeah.
So, whereas the things you're talking is more experiential, right? So that's why linking it with gaming or something like that, where you are experiencing something and on the way you are having more experiences, maybe including shopping, maybe would make more sense to me.
Got it.
But maybe
So
maybe 2 years, maybe a few
I'm gonna
years.
I'm gonna do a follow-up question because I don't feel like you answered that question with a number. So let's look at Amazon Go, right? The Amazon Go experience of going to a convenience store and just picking something up and walking out without having to talk to anybody. How far are we from Totus or Sodimac or Falabella doing that?
We are you're asking for Falabella Sodibeto. I mean, it's so let me answer generically and then I'll tell about
Okay,
Falabella, right?
whatever you can answer publicly. This is not a
Yeah, I mean the
investor
technology is
relations.
here. The
Yeah,
technology is here. Now it's not
correct.
so proprietary that Amazon Go was like one so far. Oh wow! Now today you don't have to actually do any need of any POS or any
Yeah.
checkout
Yeah,
process. You can do. The question is really um, valued return on investment angle for the companies, depending upon your demographics, depending upon how much you want to spend, right? In Chile, still Chile is still much better than most of the Latin America, where cash is still less used, right?
Okay.
yes, yeah, it's high
Um,
credit. Yeah,
but it's still cash is being used. We still cannot think. We It's been a challenge for us to think about a store without any cash
okay.
because cash is expensive. Um, Peru and Colombia, Peru is a big into cash, right? So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
difficult when you go to different
Sure,
countries.
sure. Less credit card
I
penetration
think,
compared to Chile.
to have totally transactionless, I think one thing is about becoming a cashless. And maybe I think Falabella at it we may start making sense to start experimenting in few years in small segment stores
Sure,
as
in
a
sector
not as
oriente.
a full scale launch.
Sure, I understand. Got it. Thank you.
And depending on your demographic, obviously, like you had said before.
Exactly. So I think the question is not really about can you or not. I mean, it's a very easy to
Yeah,
implement these days.
it's
I
value.
mean, you
Yeah,
go to Decathlon, you have all the same thing. You put it in a bucket and everything in the basket, and everything gets sharp. So it's possible.
yeah. I'm still mind blown by that. You put everything in a basket, and all of a sudden you have a monitor that shows what you're buying, and it's to me it's fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I
Yep.
I think it's a little bit also with companies is what is your demographics ready? There's ROI, and finally, it is also about how the competitive landscape changes, right? Because
That's
it's going to be investment. So
true.
it's a lot of those factors make you decide how much you want to invest in it.
Yeah.
What worries you, Ashish? As your position at CIO, um, is it privacy issues? Is it the speed of AI? Is it the lack of qualified engineers or talent? I.e., recruitment. What keeps you up at night? What makes your hair even whiter?
So, I mean, personally, for me, the thing that worries me the most
Yeah,
is security and
Mhm.
privacy.
yeah,
Personally, I mean, for rest of the stuff, it's like there are problems and there are solutions and there is like a path to go there, and it's inspiring to actually transform the company to into, or it's inspiring to hire great talent and bring them in. It's these are problems, but what worries me in the
yes,
night
security.
I
is the security, cyber security, data privacy for the customers. I've lived in Target, and I don't know how much you know about Target had a big data
yeah.
breach.
I think my credit card was breached, and then they
So I
changed.
was there in Target at that time.
That was huge.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's huge, and I understand what happens to the companies
Sure.
when that happens.
Mm.
So that's what worries me.
Got it. A major data breach obviously affects the reputation of the brand, and that would be obviously,
And that's
firing
my
offense
responsibility
potentially.
for
How,
Sure.
Falabella.
yesterday there was, and you're here in the US. I don't know if you heard that yesterday AT&T had a huge outage.
Yes.
Tens of thousands of individuals couldn't use their phone. And this morning on the news, they said, government officials are looking into if it was a cyber attack on AT&T. Although AT&T is saying it's not, they're looking at it. Just came up. How imminent are we to, and I don't know if you can answer this, but to a huge cyber attack, that's going to impact economy. Yeah.
So I have a little pessimistic view of this subject,
Hmm.
and the pessimistic view of the subject it is whether you'll be attacked or not is not so much. Uh, it's a will of of other parties who really want to attack you. When there is only so much you can do.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do to defend and do. I think so. It's very imminent. The risk is very high, and you have to invest a lot of money to make sure you're protected. Uh, but there is never enough because there is always a risk to reward ratio comes in where you say, this is the amount of risk I'm ready to take,
Okay.
right? Because finally you have to do business. You have to run. I mean, the
Right. At the end of
safest way is not to run a business, right?
the
That will be the most safest option, and after that, the risk starts. So it is very imminent. You have to find the right balance of how much you want to spend to protect it, and then how much you want to spend to react, and how much you want to spend to then
yeah.
being able to recover. And that is the right balance of the things that me and along with CISO kind of, and along with other
Mhm.
leaders, we figure out how do we distribute our investments in the most balanced way.
Got it. So it's not a matter of
Ashish,
it's when.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also the extent of how much, right? Is it just someone changed my debit card or password, or someone actually entered my account and took money? There's so many ways of
Yeah.
financial fraud going on, and especially now with AI and deepfakes, it's just going to get worse. Ashish, I wanted
Exactly.
to
I
ask
mean,
you.
as small as things like, you know, your Insta account getting changed and suddenly all your images are gone and there's some weird message on that. Now,
That's not a small thing for Sabrina. That's life changing.
That's not true.
Come on, Sabrina. Your Instagram is your life.
Not true.
Anyway, uh, Ashish, you've worked in.
or TikTok for you, right, Amit?
For me,
It's,
I mean,
I
for
heard
me, in
it's
terms of
TikTok.
for me, social media, X or Twitter is where I get my daily laughter and content and news and stock, you know. But Instagram, I don't spend much time. TikTok, I can spend an hour, but I'm quite disciplined in that way. Like I only go to TikTok if I know I've got 10 minutes. Otherwise, I don't waste too much time. And then Facebook and LinkedIn, I just post a photograph. The other day, I was working at home, and I don't know if it's an eagle or a kite. I couldn't quite figure it out. But this enormous animal was literally right outside, a meter away from me on the windowsill. I posted it up on Facebook, and I don't know if it's an eagle or a kite. I don't know the difference because I said it was an eagle, and my wife said it's a kite. But anyway, my
Wait,
question.
wait. Before you ask, I just want to ask him because it relates to this. Ashish, I actually tried to find you on Instagram or Facebook to see if I could find anything personal about you because everything on the internet is professional about you. So, do you have a social media platform you use?
He gives his
Yeah,
friends, Sabrina. He gives his friends only.
yeah. So, no, I have an Insta account. I use it only for personal
Okay,
things. I don't use Facebook. I use Instagram for.
Instagram. Okay, all right. Just
Sabrina uses Tinder.
this. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so
I think there's, my son was telling me that Tinder is also pretty old. I mean, like he was telling me some other similar, which is these
The
guys are
dating
really
one.
using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OnlyFans, it's called.
OnlyFans.
Okay, can we go? Can we get serious again,
Go.
Sabrina? Okay, so I want to understand. You've obviously traveled and the world. You've worked in Japan, Thailand, Chile, Argentina, India. What are the major cultural differences that you find as you work with people of all these different countries and cultures? You know, are you bullish in Chile and Latin America, or are you more bullish in India and Asia? Not that it's a competition, but just to get where your mind is in terms of the future.
Yeah, I mean, and when you say bullish, you mean in terms of economy and growth and stuff.
Macro, yeah, macroeconomic, you know, like,
Yeah, I mean, each place, I mean, it has different challenges and stuff like that. But I mean, let me address the Latin America first, right?
yeah,
I do think there is a lot of opportunities in Latin America. I mean, there is obviously a lot of political instabilities that exist in this region. But I do think it's an emerging market and it has a huge potential to further grow from it. I mean, Asia, we in any case know, is going really, really fast. India economy is probably one of the best growing economies in the world right now. Uh, but I do think Latin America in general um, has a lot of opportunities, especially in the space where we all, you know, we work on a digital commerce, or I think there's a lot of opportunities for small brands, retailers to grow and penetrate markets. Um, culturally, the other part was more culturally.
sure.
Is that?
Yeah, because you work with so many people, right? So you've worked with people in India, you're working now with people in Chile. You know, what are the major differences you find in the culture?
So,
Work
I mean,
ethic.
last 10, 15 years, if I see, I've worked in India and I've worked mostly for US companies. So, and so I relate a lot to North American culture in the companies and people, and then India, and then South America. I mean, to me, there are some aspects of uh, Latin America which are very similar to India, which is people are very warm, very informal, and relationship is super important in getting anything done. I think that is true in India, that is true in Latin America. And I mean, it's even more in Latin America because in India, I was working for so many North American companies where everything seemed transactional. I mean, you go to office not to build relationships. You go to office to get a job done. Whereas here, everything is about relationship, and so is in India. So that's the uh, similarity between India and Latin America and difference from North America.
Yeah, just to add to that, Sabrina, when I entered the office in Chile, every time the employees were there, the girls would get up and give me a kiss in the cheek, like, like mwah, mwah, like hola, ¿qué tal? I was like, I'm in my office. I meet these girls every day, Monday to Friday.
Always say hello.
Every day, it's like, and I don't know what's happened, but I don't know if I've changed the culture. But now it's less like, hey, Amit, and I'm like, hey, Anna, hey, this, like, I just find
And
the
it's
amount of
probably
time.
pandemic changed a little bit of that, I find.
Oh, is it the pandemic? Because at the beginning, the first few years, it was like terrible. Every time, I mean, and they take first of all, they take so much time to say hello to everybody because apart from giving the kiss in the cheeks, they do the boom, 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 boom thing, handshake, and then they start their breakfast on the table, and then they start their work. And I'm
What?
like, 30 minutes is wasted of the day. Anyway, that's what I found over here versus other countries.
Yeah, but I'm not, and it's not a compare. It's different, right? And to me, like in a North American companies, there was always icebreaker, and typically the icebreaker, given that there's so much change in season, in US will be about weather. People will talk a little bit about weather and that, but it's very superficial. I feel.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Whereas in Latin America, there's so much
hot.
genuineness in
Yeah,
like meeting people, knowing what is going on in their lives, and there is a genuineness in relationships.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Here,
In America,
you walk into an office here and you'd be lucky if someone said hello to you. Everyone's just
Sabrina,
staring.
you don't go into the office and say what's up. You don't say that.
I'm the type
Oh,
I
you
walk
watch LeBron.
good morning, and forget it.
You don't go in and say, "Hey, LeBron was great. The Lakers were great. Taylor Swift." You don't talk about pop.
No one wants to talk to me about it.
And
That's
people
because you're
very
the boss. That's
afraid
because you're the
of
boss.
making any statements in US about anything. They don't want to show their opinions about any um,
Yeah,
point of views
Democrat
on
versus
anything.
Republican. Yeah. Oh my God, you're a Trump fan. Oh, stay away. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You get.
canceled, right? But
Yeah,
that's nice. It's nice to hear that's what the culture is down there.
But the other thing which I found very, very interesting, and it's a good example of seeing that is lunch. Right?
Hmm.
In US, every time I've been there, I mean, it's expected that your lunchtime has to be the most efficient. I mean,
yeah.
figure out how can you go out, talk, buy your sandwich, a soup, come back, eat,
45 minutes.
like how smart you can be in making it efficient.
Yes, it's true.
Latin America, I mean, it's a shame if you are sitting on your desk and eating alone. I mean, how sad your life is.
Wow. That's
Nobody eats alone. Nobody. Every day they want to go with some colleague of theirs, have lunch together, and talk a little bit about what's going
Mhm.
on. Also.
Yeah. So just to add to that, so I have a customer service team of two girls, and I don't want them to take lunch at the same time, right? So I want them to eat alone on their desk. But that's what I want. It never happens, right? I don't sit with them because during lunch they like to talk and they like to, get to
But
know each
that
other,
social aspect is also important for them, and then come
to be
back.
happy.
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes, come back, and then you have that,
Yeah. And
endorphin.
Sabrina, and the angry customers who called during that hour when they're both having lunch and no one picks up the phone and they think, what a joke of a company. I should have bought
Then
from
you hire
Falabella
the
and not
third
from Mobile
person.
Hut.
Needs to hire the third person and spend that money.
Well, Sabrina, I thought you were an owner. Now you're talking like an employee.
Exactly.
The
So
other angle I think is process and innovate. I think India, because not many systems work and there's so many people, there is a sense of you have a problem. The first reaction is a solution, like how you gonna find a way out. That whole flexibility mindset. And here, I think at least in Chile, not so much in Argentina and other places, there is so much. Even in US, I think there is an expectation that processes are going to work. People follow the process. Not many people can answer why this process is there, but people do follow the process.
Let's talk about success and failure, right? How would you define success? And, and has success and the definition evolved over the many decades that you've worked professionally?
Of course, I mean, it has evolved a lot. For me right now, personally, what drives me and what gives me more satisfaction and what I look for is what value you are creating uh, with your work. And the value could be in terms of, you know, the company you're working for, what you're doing for the company, if you're working with people, how you're helping people to grow and do better and become, really help them in their careers and their personal lives or in society or whatever. So it's about the impact you as an individual you are creating in whatever you're doing.
But is that a
And
metric? Is that like the share price of the company you're working in, given that you're working in a public company, or is it something else?
I mean, to me, it's a self-assessment. I mean, you have to do genuine self-assessment of whether look back a year or two and you say, you know what, I helped these many people, and I see, I was coaching so many people, and are they doing really well in their career, and that aspect, or I had this vision few years back that we're gonna do technology change in this way, and is it actually what you thought and what you said within your heart you actually know.
yeah,
And I
that's
Correct.
true.
mean, whether you actually created an impact or not, you can fool the world. I mean, and after 20, 30 years of your careers, you have a great art of fooling anyone you want, especially in a corporate world. But
Yeah,
you within your heart you know.
the only person you can't fool is your wife,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
And she uh, and especially mine is a super, like you probably all super smart. So she
Yeah,
knows before I have to tell her. Right? She's like, something's going on.
yeah. Mine's smarter than I am, but maybe I work a bit harder than her, but mine's up there. Sabrina,
So I want to know if your answer is the same personally for success. What does success mean to you in your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, it's impact. I'm a big, I'm a big fan of learning. And you know, I have every possible self-help book, and my wife hates it. She's a super confident woman. I think she believes like she knows most of the things, and probably in most of the cases she's right. And I'm the one who starts from the other end where it's like, I don't know much. I need to learn about this. I need to learn about this, right? And I will read about parenting, read about technology, read about everything. So to me, learning is a very important part of my personal satisfaction and success. That am I improving in knowledge or whatever every
Okay.
passing moment.
I love that.
talking about reading, what books are you reading at the moment, or what books do you gift most as a gift?
So I like autobiographies, but right now I'm reading. Actually, I'm reading Satya Nadella's book, Refresh. I'm also reading Chip War, which is about how chips are changing the whole dynamics in the world. Especially, it highlights the China and US kind of dynamics.
Interesting.
Uh, so
And do you have a favorite self-help book or not
uh,
necessarily?
I am a big fan of Clayton Christensen, who is a Harvard professor, Nobel Prize winner, and you know he has talked about innovator's dilemma is his thing, and what was his book name? How to measure your life.
How to measure your life.
Um, how do you measure your life? To me, it's very, very inspiring. I read multiple times.
So we usually post the names of the books that our guests read because we have research shows that highly successful people are avid readers, and so our listeners have reached out and said, "Hey, you need to post what books they read because we want to read the same book." So thank you for sharing that. And at the end of our segment, we always want to do a rapid fire. Ask you a few questions. First thing that comes to your mind. You're stuck on an island. What three things would you take with you?
Um, Mobile phone. Uh,
Everyone says that.
Yes.
There's no, there's, we can't charge it in the island, but go ahead, take it.
mm, you know, something that can help with a fire.
Okay.
Uh, and maybe I'll change mobile phone to a satellite phone. Okay. Now
Art.
that you Matchbox and what else?
That's three. That's done. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I want to know your favorite question or the unusual question. You obviously interview and hire lots of people. Which is the one question that makes you basically know if this candidate's the right person for you or not?
I mean, I I don't have a favorite question, but my style of interviewing and what I'm looking for is about finding people's toughest experiences
Mm,
and how they describe about that toughest experiences of their life, personal, professional, and that
I like
ends
that.
up showing their strengths, their weaknesses, how they
Sure.
reacted in that time,
They
their
grit.
inner self.
I like that.
I like that. I
No one
like
ever
that.
asked me that through the years.
Yeah,
Yeah, no one's ever asked
I
me
like
that.
that one.
Yeah, me too. Okay, last question. Respectful of your time. What is the best purchase you've made under $200?
Or under $1,000. The point is something that's added value to your life recently in the last year that you can recommend to other people.
Watch. I mean, I've been not very active person, and I'm walking, running, and started that. And I think
That the
being
Apple
able to
Watch?
this is Apple Watch, but I mean any watch which can measure. Um, I'm so glad I did that because it's a great pleasure to see how many steps you have done, how much you have worked, how much you can run. It just inspires you to do better every next stage. So I think it's a very good investment. I'm very
I
glad
love
We,
I
we,
that. And good for
we,
you.
we are we are the opposites, Ashish, you and I. The reason why I don't want an Apple Watch is because I don't want someone telling me how many steps I've taken in the day.
I'm the
I
self-help. You are more like my wife, who doesn't want to be
Yes,
told. I love
not.
to be told.
And you know what? Like we were just saying, my wife the other day we were playing with Aman, the baby, and when he was 4 or 5 months, and I don't know what he did, and I wanted to give him something to eat, and she looks at me and she goes, how how do you have three sons and you know absolutely fucking nothing about children? And I was like, she goes, I have read 10 books, you've read zero. Like how it annoys her so badly that I'm just like, I swing it. Like, not that I don't feel like I know anything, but our parents didn't read these books. My grandparents certainly didn't read any books. So I'm more like your wife, I would say. I like enjoying life swinging it.
Yes. Yes. Nothing right or wrong.
Sure, everyone has their own way.
Yes.
Ashish, on that note, really appreciate you, taking the time to join us today. We both live in Chile. I would love for our wives to get to know each other as well. And the invitation for a meal stands as and when you family has time. Please let me know when you're back in Chile.
Let's do that. Look forward to that. Very nice to see you again, Amit, and very nice to meet you, Sabrina.
So nice to meet you. I really am fascinated and intrigued by your work and the future of it. I look forward to hearing, what else you do in your career path. So thank you for being with us today. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Have a great day, everyone.
Ciao.